"You're so independent, Camille. You don't need as much as Isla does." That line followed me like a shadow through most of my life. It sounded like praise. It wasn't. If you've ever been the dependable one in a family, the one who doesn't cause problems, who handles things without being asked, then you know what I'm about to say. At some point, people stop seeing you altogether. I'm Camille, I'm 30, no kids, no drama, solid job in finance. And for as long as I can remember, I've been the responsible daughter. Meanwhile, my younger sister Isla, 4 years younger, has always been a whirlwind. She dropped out of college halfway, went through 3 boyfriends, 5 jobs, and about a dozen impulsive business ideas, funded mostly by my parents. Every holiday, every family dinner, every phone call, it was always about Isla. When she forgot Mom's birthday, she's just stressed. When I forgot to call once because I was in the ER with a sprained ankle, Camille, how could you be so thoughtless? But I swallowed it. I always did. Birthdays came and went. I planned every one of theirs. No one remembered mine. Graduation, they didn't show up. Isla had a dance recital the same day. Job promotion, not even a text. We didn't want to interrupt your busy schedule. I told myself I was being dramatic, that maybe some kids just get more attention, and it doesn't mean they love me less. But deep down it gnawed at me, the feeling that I wasn't just overlooked. I was optional. And when you're treated like you're optional long enough, you start acting like it. I minimized myself. I stopped asking for help. I showed up when they needed me, but never expected anyone to show up for me. Looking back, it's wild how easy it is to gaslight yourself into thinking you're just stronger than the rest, that maybe being forgotten is your badge of honor. But that kind of strength, it becomes a cage. You know those revenge stories where someone gets pushed too far and finally fights back? Yeah, I never thought I'd be in one of those. Until the night my parents invited me to dinner with big news. Until they handed me an envelope with my name on it and a smile like everything inside was a gift. Until I realized what that envelope actually was. But I'll get to that. First, you need to understand just how invisible I'd become. Because the thing about being left out is, it doesn't always happen loudly. Sometimes it's in the quietest rooms, at the nicest tables, surrounded by people who claim they love you. And when your own family forgets you matter, the damage runs deeper than words. It rewrites who you believe you are. And that's where my story begins. The night my parents invited me over felt off from the start. They were unusually chipper. Mum made roast beef from scratch. Dad poured wine. Isla wasn't even there, which was a miracle in itself. The whole thing felt like they were trying too hard, like a sales pitch was coming. After dinner, Mum handed me a cream-coloured envelope, smiling like it was a birthday card. "We're so proud of you, Camille," she said. "And we trust you. That's why we wanted you to look over this." That one sentence triggered every red flag in my body. My parents had never asked me to look over anything in my life. They didn't value my opinion. They only valued my stability. I opened the envelope. Mortgage documents for a house I'd never seen. A $480,000 property with my name on the loan. Not Isla's. Mine. I blinked at it. Then again, like maybe it would change. The air felt heavier. I could feel my heartbeat in my jaw. I looked up. My mum was sipping wine like nothing was strange. My dad was scrolling his phone. "Is this some kind of mistake?" I asked. Dad chuckled. "No mistake. We bought Isla a house, but she couldn't qualify on her own, and you've got a great job, so it made sense." That word, sense, hit me like a slap. They had used my information, my credit, maybe even my signature. And they were just sitting there, calm, like it was some casual dinner topic. "Who's paying for this?" I managed to ask, even though I already knew the answer. "You are," Mom said, still smiling. "Just until Isla and her fiancé get on their feet. You're not married, you don't have kids. It's not like you're strapped. If you're watching this right now and thinking, what the hell? Yeah, same. Actually, let me know in the comments if you've ever had a family member drop something outrageous on you like it was no big deal. I'd love to hear your stories. Back to mine. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd, so surreal, that laughter was the only thing keeping me from screaming. I'm not agreeing to this, I said carefully. This isn't my responsibility. And that's when her face changed. The soft smile dropped. The coldness in her eyes was instant. You owe us, Mum snapped, after everything we've done for you. Everything they had done for me? No, this wasn't a gift. No, this was a trap, and I was done pretending I didn't see it. After that dinner, I stopped answering their calls, not because I was trying to be dramatic. I just didn't know how to respond to people who saw me as a resource, not a daughter. For a while, it was quiet. Too quiet. Then the pressure started. First, guilt-trip texts from Mom. We're so disappointed, Camille. This is tearing the family apart. Then a voicemail from Dad. We raised you better than this. Your sister needs support, not spite. Then Isla joined in. You've always hated that I'm the favourite. Just admit it. I wish I could say I didn't cry reading those. I did. Not because I believed them, but because I finally saw just how little they ever saw me at all. They didn't ask how I felt. They didn't care that my personal data had been used without my consent. They didn't worry about the fact that my credit could be ruined or that I could be legally liable. They only cared that I didn't play along. A week later, an envelope showed up at my apartment. This one wasn't cream-coloured. It was official, legal. My parents were suing me. I sat on my floor for hours, just holding the paper, reading the words over and over like they'd rearranged themselves into something less insane. They accused me of breaking a verbal agreement to co-sign the mortgage, claimed I'd promised to support Isla's fresh start, said my backing out had left them financially stranded. I wasn't angry, I was numb. I think there's a moment where grief turns to detachment. When you've been holding on to hope for so long and then it just slips. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just forgotten. I'd been discarded by the people who told me family is forever, by the people I still sent birthday cards to even when they forgot mine, by the people who once called me our rock. But rocks break too. I hired a lawyer. He was calm, efficient, and the first person in weeks who looked at me like I mattered. We started gathering everything. Emails, texts, screenshots, even the PDF my mom sent bragging about Isla's new place, with my name clearly listed. Meanwhile, family members started messaging me, not to check in, not to ask how I was, but to say things like, just drop it, Camille, don't ruin your parents over this. Your sister doesn't deserve this stress while she's planning her future. No one said, we're sorry this happened to you. That part hurt more than the lawsuit. But somewhere between that silence and those texts, I found something else. Clarity. If they'd already decided who the villain was, I might as well become the one who fights back. I didn't sleep the night I got the lawsuit. My mind was running 1,000 miles an hour, flipping between disbelief, shame, and a strange kind of quiet rage. I wasn't even sure who I was angrier at, them for doing this to me, or me for still hoping they wouldn't. But I'd already wasted years waiting to be chosen. Now I chose myself. Hiring the lawyer wasn't dramatic. I just walked into a local firm on my lunch break and asked for someone who specialized in real estate and family disputes. A paralegal handed me a form and said, "Tell us what happened." I couldn't finish the first sentence without crying, but once I started, I didn't stop. We got to work. I pulled up every email and text thread from the past year, every "thank you for supporting Isla," every "you'll understand one day," every screenshot where they casually admitted the mortgage was technically under my name. We found a copy of a pre-filled mortgage application in my downloads, something my mum must have accessed when she visited last fall. They had used my credit, my social security number, even forged a digital signature. And the worst part? Isla had bragged to her friends in a group text I was accidentally added to. Camille's paying for it anyway. She always caves. That one stung. Outside of the legal prep, the isolation was brutal. My phone barely rang unless it was another relative checking in just to ask if I could drop the case. I stopped going to family events. No one asked why. And the people I thought might support me, quiet. For a while, I wondered if maybe that was the point of all this, not the house, not the money, but to put me back in my place, to remind me that in this family I was only valuable when I was useful. But something in me had cracked, and this time it didn't shatter. It sharpened. This wasn't about revenge, this was about truth. And I wasn't going to let them bury mine under a pile of be quiet and keep the peace. Every night, after work, I met with my lawyer. We prepped documents, cross-referenced digital timestamps, lined up every inconsistency. It was like building a case for who I really was. Someone worth fighting for. I didn't know yet how the court would rule. But one thing was certain. I wasn't going to disappear quietly this time. Court day came fast, too fast. I remember standing in the hallway outside the courtroom, palms sweating, heart racing, lawyer murmuring something about just stick to the truth. But all I could hear were echoes from years of being told to be the bigger person. This time I wasn't shrinking. I walked in and immediately saw them, my parents, sitting with their attorney, smug and polished, like this was just another family disagreement they were going to win. They'd even brought backup, 2 aunts, a cousin, and Ela. She wore white, like a victim. Meanwhile, I sat alone. No fanfare, no support squad, just facts. The judge asked both sides to present. Their lawyer went first, painting me as cold, ungrateful, emotionally unstable. He talked about verbal agreements and family obligations. My mum even wiped away fake tears. I almost laughed, almost. But then it was my turn. My lawyer calmly laid out everything. The unauthorized credit application, the forged digital signature, the group chat where Isla joked about me being a financial backup plan, emails where my mum literally said, "Don't worry, Camille will handle it. She always does." And finally, the photo of the document, my name, my credit, my future, used like property, without my consent. I didn't cry. I didn't even raise my voice. I just told the truth, out loud, for the first time. The courtroom was silent when the judge leaned back, shook his head, and said, "This isn't just unethical, it's manipulative and borderline criminal." He ruled in my favor. Not only did he dismiss the case, he warned my parents that any further action could result in legal consequences for fraud. He looked directly at them and said, "You're lucky she isn't pressing charges." I turned to look at my parents. My dad's jaw was clenched. My mum stared at the floor like the carpet had answers. Isla? She looked lost, like the script she'd memorized had just been burned. But the best part? I felt nothing. No guilt, no need to comfort them, no urge to fix what they broke. For once, I wasn't trying to earn their approval. I was standing in my own truth, and they couldn't twist it this time. The case was closed. But the story? That was just getting started. After the court ruled in my favor, everything changed. But not in the way my parents expected. They thought losing the lawsuit would be the worst part. They thought I'd quietly fade away like I always did. Maybe stop talking to them for a bit, cry it out, and then return for Thanksgiving with a polite smile. They didn't realize something deeper had shifted. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was done. The restraining order came next. My lawyer filed it after we compiled all the post-trial voicemails and emails, most of them wrapped in guilt trips, veiled threats, and fake apologies that always ended with, "Family is all you have." That's the thing they never understood. If family costs you your peace, your boundaries, your self-worth, what do you really have left? Around that time, a friend from college reached out. She worked in digital media and had heard bits of my story through mutual friends. She asked, "Would you ever be willing to talk about it on the record?" I hesitated. Not because I was afraid, but because part of me still felt like I had to protect their image, even after everything. But then I thought about how many people out there might be going through the same thing, living in silence, thinking it's their fault for being too sensitive, swallowing betrayal just to keep the peace. So I said yes. We published the article under the headline, "My parents sued me for refusing to pay my sister's mortgage and lost everything." It went viral. The comments were overwhelming, some shocked, some furious, but most were heartbreakingly familiar. People wrote, "I thought I was the only one. This happened to me too, just different names." Suddenly, I wasn't alone anymore. My pain had become something powerful, something useful. My parents tried to play victim. Isla posted a teary video blaming family pressure and social media harassment. But then someone zoomed in on the eviction notice taped behind her in the frame. The comments turned, fast. She deleted the video. Her fiancé left her. My parents sold their house and moved out of state. And me? I moved apartments, changed jobs, found people who saw me, not for what I could give, but for who I was. I don't celebrate revenge, but I do celebrate peace. And sometimes peace comes after fire. If you've made it this far, thank you, truly. And if you've ever felt like the forgotten one in your family, the invisible, the dependable, the one no one checks on, just know, you are not alone. You are not crazy. And you are not here just to carry everyone else's weight. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. Was there a moment when you finally said, enough? Because for me, this was mine.